Larry, sorry about
Is that on the
that.
machine?
Yeah. There should be one right back there.
Well, yeah, there is, behind the tissue box.
Can you hear me, Larry?
I don't know if it's 3 holes.
Yes,
Probably.
I can.
It looks like.
All right.
I can't see you, but I can hear you.
Just one sec, Larry. The owl is reconnecting. My goodness, it has been the IT fiasco.
We need to get that surprise squad back here.
Yeah, I know.
Excuse me.
But you're so
Who are
pretty.
you talking about, please?
Myself.
Well, I'll take out. Gosh. Okay, I'm awake now. Thank you.
This technology is just making life difficult all over the place. Low technology.
Yeah, that's
That's
low tech.
connected.
This has
It's
been around for a
connected.
while. Anybody else want to punch themselves?
No, I haven't.
You made it look so easy to use.
Thank you.
So it's on and connected, and it did boot.
It doesn't want to
I
be
found out how I can get rid of my wrinkles.
What is the owl saying?
How did I get rid of his wrinkles?
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I'd like to know.
Found that wisdom.
No, I don't know. Yeah, it's right there.
Hi, Donna.
I thought Tim was gonna be here.
Yeah, me too. I thought I saw him respond.
I think he's almost here.
Maybe he thinks it's Tuesday.
Did?
Yeah.
All day.
Oh,
I have that
because of the
possibility.
holiday.
Yeah.
I was just saying to myself, did we have news hour last night where Tamara and Amy on? Then this must be Tuesday. That's how I do it. It's kind of pathetic.
Or organized.
Testing.
You've got some images up there.
Something's going on.
Waking up.
Yay, yay, okay. Well, we gave Tim a few extra minutes, but
Should we give him a call?
I can text him while you get started.
Who's the vice?
Pardon?
Who's vice chairman?
No.
It's Donna. Donna, we may be
Yeah.
calling on you to call the meeting to order because Tim isn't here.
Oh, well, I'll call the meeting to order, but I am totally unprepared because Tim was going to be there. So take it away.
He might still be here, but
Okay.
we can at least get started.
Do you have the agenda? Does Donna
Um,
have the agenda?
I can
can
pull
read
it
it.
up, but you usually have it on a screen, right?
I can screen share it.
Call to order.
Yep.
You do that for me.
We're getting older.
It's bad.
To the flag of the United States of America,
America.
to the republic for which it stands,
Stands
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call?
Yeah.
Okay.
roll call.
Roll call.
Oh, wait a minute, who's taking notes? Don't look at me.
My hand doesn't.
Oh, it's a-
My hands don't hold up.
I think I did it last time. I can do it, but I won't be
Wait.
able to type them up. very
Um,
quickly.
We can try recording it, and I can try using an AI minutes taker with the recording. Yeah,
Oh, exciting.
I know. I don't know how to do it live, but I was gonna try it with a recording, so we could try that. But if someone could maybe just jot down the first and seconds, just in case.
Oh, I
I
see.
have one of those pencils though.
Also, third.
Can you all see the screen share?
Yep.
Okay,
Okay. We ready for roll call?
yeah.
Okay. Donna's here.
Bridget's here.
Carol.
Ally,
Larry.
For Larry. I don't see Nandu or Tim.
No.
Nandu is expecting and may be like imminently having a
Not
baby.
able to.
So if she's not here, I'm not surprised.
She doesn't
Although
have a
she might have a
computer.
leap year baby, which is what she wants.
Oh.
I was almost a leap year baby. I was two days from being a baby.
so it's on your birthday.
But, okay,
Well, we have
so, we have our ex officio, Russ Sheldon,
Yep.
Counselor
Aye.
Sheldon.
Hello.
Okay. Next, are we okay?
So next on the agenda is our consent agenda.
Consent
Do you
agenda.
have it up, Donna? Or you can see it now? Okay.
I've got up what you guys have, so thank you. I can go. I have that. I have our agenda, right? So, we have two sets, let's see. Oh, we have our agenda to approve for now, and then also the meeting minutes from November. So, does anybody have anything to add to either today's agenda?
The minutes were a little bit, the format included the side notes somehow when it,
Oh,
went, so sorry about that. It's just in that one spot. I had already edited them, so I had already fixed it, you know what I mean? It's just somehow it didn't shut that comment down, so, but, if someone would like to move to
I move we
adopt the consent
accept
agenda.
The agenda and the minutes. The approved as approved. Yeah.
I second.
Okay,
Okay. So all in favor? I'm sorry, I'm doing a bad job. I'm only.
it's okay, we can
All in
say,
favor of
if
the
there's any
consent agenda?
discussion.
Aye.
Aye.
Or not, okay, all right. Any
We all on
opposed?
consent. Nope. Okay,
I'm gonna
Okay.
just scroll down here.
thank you. So then we're on to no public, there's nobody there. I'm not there, so there's nobody for public comments. So we passing that, right?
We
Okay,
do not have any members of the public tonight.
thank you. Okay.
And so, as we, elected to not meet in December, and then, I had the little family emergency in January, we're just doing a little review tonight, so, to get us up to speed, it's all great stuff. But I do have a few reports to go over with you. So Tim did meet with me, our chair, to create the agenda. That's what we do the first week of the month. And so we decided to just keep it to the basic reports and then the one article that he was interested in everyone, you know, reading and discussing a bit. So I will just give you a little overview of some of the, in case you didn't know, great things that have been going on. You'll see some new things in the library, which are, we had some wonderful new chairs donated. We tried them out, for inclusive story time, and they can be used kind of 3 ways. To sit higher, to sit a little lower with sides, or use as a stool or even a little table. And one of the grandparents liked them so much from story time that she bought a whole set from the library.
Wow.
So that was a little picture
Yeah.
there.
Nice.
She brings her grandchild to story time, and so we love that. And then we have had some grants. We got a 1,500 downtown public art grant that I applied for as kind of a cooperation between planning and the library, or Rowan. We have a volunteer right now through U of O, like kind of like an intern, a rare volunteer. And so there's going to be a new bus shelter to replace the one outside the senior center that's kind of cracked and whatnot. So this grant will pay for some art for that new bus shelter, and also help fund our public art display here in the library by
Nice.
having some artist receptions, we can offer an honorarium to the artists, which we haven't really ever been able to do. So yeah, very exciting. And then we found out recently that Steve Daner, who you saw closing tonight, he helped write a grant for Oregon Humanities. We had that Letters from Home series, where people who live in North Plains who are from a different country came in and talked about where they were from. This is sort of expanding on that, and it's a $5,000 grant.
Wow.
So there's going to be 3 larger events, and we're going to use Jessie Mays. The grant includes a little spruce up of Jessie Mays, so we're going to have it like deep cleaned, which we've really been wanting to do. So I'm hoping, I'm just meeting our custodial service over there next week to look over it. Since it's gonna be really amazing. We had a meeting about it today. So we're gonna love it. We're gonna have food from the country. We're gonna have some types of storytelling or music or that kind of thing.
When do you plan on that?
The first one's actually in April.
Oh, wow.
So for some reason I thought they were starting in the fall, but they're April, May, and July. We met about it this morning, so it's fresh.
What are the countries?
Oh my gosh, don't ask. Okay.
Sorry, Robin.
It'll be a surprise.
Yeah.
So the first one is, we actually don't know yet because it's the founder of something called Immigrant Story, his name's Sankar, is going to talk about their program, and there are gonna be some individuals, but I don't know which countries yet. The second one is Persia, and the third one is, I think, Somalia. So, yeah, I'm excited.
So most of those people will be from the North Plains area? You think, or
That is what we
maybe-
did for Letters from Home. I don't know if they're in North Plains or just the great general area. I can't remember.
Yeah, that's,
From this general area, yes.
oh, that's neat.
Okay, and then this is not for public announcement yet. I know this is a public meeting, but it's not as public as last night's meeting. So I'm just gonna tell you that we did get the second round of the Libraries Transforming Communities Access Grant, another $20,000.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Pretty neat.
So that's what paid for all these computers, which are now set up. So the second round I applied for is for accessible wayfinding project for the library. So part of it is hiring a consultant with lived experience with the vision disability. And there's actually a consultant named Emily Curry who's done trainings for Cornelius Library before in Disability 101 and so forth. And she's legally blind and has a guide dog. And so I'm kind of in contact with her about it. It's under for our procurement process, it's under the level where I'd have to do a formal bid. But there's another organization that's gonna reach out to, the Oral Hull Foundation, that our volunteer Jeannie works with, and that's for also visually impaired people, so that we can have someone kind of lead the project who has that lived experience, and that's what the second round. So anyway, that's just a little, it's not publicly announced, that's the only reason I couldn't announce it last night. The American Library Association wants to notify all the applicants before they made a public announcement, so they just asked us to not publish about it yet, but it's okay to tell you. So that's very exciting. And then just other things happening are our statistics have been great. We did have to close, for the storm last month. Most of the week. We were open briefly on Wednesday for the cocoa and holds pickup, hot cocoa and holds pickup, which some people were really happy to come in and get new picture books, and we did have people come in, but we were kind of hesitant because it was very, very slick out. We didn't want anyone to get hurt. But our sidewalks, the guys did our public works department did a really good job on them. Our sidewalks were fine. The parking lot was a little iffy, but we, even with that closure, our January checkouts were way up from last January. Even with the week closed, I know. And what they were saying at the county is that they saw a big spike in digital checkouts during the storm.
I can't believe that.
You know what I mean? So like
Like
people
the
are
Libby.
kind of going to that format
Yeah.
when they can't get to the library, kind of. That we saw that happen during COVID, and then this was like this little, people obviously like to come in, but if they couldn't, that's some way they can access the library. And they did see a big jump during that week. It's interesting. It was actually, it broke the record for unique users for Libby for the month. Was a record-breaking month with over 42,000 unique users.
Wow.
Unique being new users.
Well, not new, but different, like there's a checkouts number, and then there's how many people used it. So it's like how many users, how many different people used Libby. Different library cards, I guess. So November was the 1 month we went down a little from the year before. We did close an extra day. We closed Thursday and Friday this year. They are both city holidays, but in the past we had open on Friday with part-time staff, but this year we decided that we don't usually get very many people in, and that people could spend it with their families. And so, but it was about the same. It's a busy month for people, and sometimes, we don't, November is a kind of a quieter month anyway. So, sorry, Donna, I just kind of kept going and talked about, I'm just
That's
sort of
okay.
giving you, but.
Like I said, I'm lost here because I wasn't prepared to do any of it. So just tell me what to do next. Are you on to statistics? Because now I lost the agenda.
Leave out one of the reports in the print? Oh, no, I didn't.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's all in here, just letters. I don't know if you heard the news about me being on the news. That was in my report.
No.
I haven't seen it yet, but the news surprised me in the library, and they donated $1,500 to the library and gave me a Valentine's gift. My husband nominated me, so that they surprised me at work. And it was Kimberly Moss, which was
Oh,
exciting.
cool.
Because I see her in chamber meetings, and I'm really, that's fun. I think I
Very
said,
nice.
Kimberly Moss, what are you doing here? Something like that. Anyway, I really am interested to see the edit. Okay. We always try to do something when school's out, so we are having a program during spring break with the pool, one of our staff doing a henna program, and that's with the Indian type designs with the ink that stays on maybe for like a week and wears off. And she does really beautiful designs with it. Is there anything about my reports anyone have any questions about?
I don't think so.
I have it, let me just scroll down a bit here. Oops. So we talked about.
So how is the homework help? Do you get a lot of kids in for that?
We don't always get people, but we do offer it, and we have really good tutors. That is a statistic we could add to this to give it a little more visibility. As a
So how does
specific.
that work? You just have people in here that want a tutor, and if somebody shows up, they
Mhm.
can get help.
And then we do capture that in our program statistics. And we also have tech help. We have some Intel volunteers who, and that is by appointment.
Yeah.
Where people can come in and get tech help, and that is always filled pretty much. We have Billy and Kimmy Hagerman as our volunteers right now,
That's great.
and they're both,
That's,
they're really wonderful volunteers, so. They're friends of ours, just because my husband knows them from Intel from a long time ago, but they moved here to North Plains
Oh, that's neat.
5 years ago or so, yeah. So after the reports, Donna, the next thing is statistics.
Okay,
We
statistics
kind
and,
of talked about those a bit,
yeah, and then the budget.
but I didn't mention the countywide checkouts, which
Oh,
you have the countywide checkouts for last month and then also for the year. You can kind of see what I was talking about with the overdrive checkouts. They're broken out in that.
so quick question, that's, you were saying Libby, but it's like, I don't use Libby, but I check out ebooks all the time, but so it's any ebooks, right? You weren't just, when you said that's.
You don't use the Libby
I
app?
just- Yeah.
Oh, so you use Overdrive still? Or do you just
I
check them
still
out
go-
through the catalog?
I check them out through, I guess, or, well, yes, I do. I check them out through the catalog. Well, no, I do holds and then I do overdrive, but I usually end up putting them on my Kindle. So
Okay. Yeah,
that's
you're
the
reading,
steps,
yeah.
but that should count in some statistics, but it's not going to count in the Libby statistic because I don't have the Libby app.
I'm starting to use Libby and Overdrive interchangeably. Libby is an app for accessing Overdrive, but most people use Libby now. But in circumstances like yours, they don't. So that is included. Your checkouts
is
are included.
Okay,
Overdrive is the
old one.
S, the provider.
Okay,
They don't have an app per se, so you get them via the browser or the catalog, and that's fine.
Yep.
Whatever works
Okay.
for you. And so also we have the whole year. It's just kind of interesting to see. I mean, we are a busy library and we're doing great. We are one of the smaller libraries, but we did circulate quite a bit more than banks. And you know, we were kind of neck and neck usually with banks. And we have
Mhm.
funding for library materials than they do, probably twice as much, honestly, to buy books. But the measurement that you see here is what is checked out from the location. So of course, we all can get books from any they're owned by any of the libraries in Washington County, but you can see what goes out the door at your location on this report. But we also include how much our items circulate in our statistics snapshot. So you can see the use of our collection and how we share with everyone. And the number, down here is how many times items we own check out. And then the number that's typically used for the WC reports are the locations checkouts, like what goes out of your door. So that's, and that, we're a net lender. People like our things. We like our books. Yay. So that was the final statistic I wanted to point out.
Well, on this, just, sorry.
Sure.
But it's showing the volunteer hours and the staff hours
Uh-huh.
this month and the same time last year. Both of those are down quite a bit. from the
Oh.
Previous year. Are we
For
just
January,
working way
which month are you
more-
looking at?
I don't know, what is it, January, yeah.
Yeah, so January,
Oh, 'cause
because
we
we were
have
closed for a
Yeah,
week,
never
that
mind.
did impact the
Yeah.
staff
I
hours
thought you were just
and,
working much more efficient.
well,
Sure.
not, I mean, not by
No,
choice,
you're
but,
right, the time, yeah.
for part-time staff, if their schedule's already posted, we do honor those hours, but now that there are things people can do remotely, if there is a circumstance like this, I can have things they could do at home because their hours are already posted, or they could just choose to be off.
Yeah.
And so, most of them chose to be off this time, but that allows people who really need the hours, an opportunity to work on some training, or we had one person make some of our slides that, go up on the reader board for us, and still able to work those scheduled hours.
Oh, good.
We try to.
Okay. Are we ready for budget?
Sure.
Okay,
I actually have some things to say about the budget. Ask for some advice on what you'd like, or just sort of tell you what the finance director is recommending. This is our snapshot, and when we forecast for a 2-year budget, which we have, we have to sort of guess what we're gonna get as far as donations and grants and things like that. We have kind of a good problem right now, is that we've gotten a lot more grants than we anticipated. There's funding available, more staff are learning to write grants. They're making some grants easier to administrate, there's reporting and so forth. The American Library Association grant has made that a lot more simplified, which is some of the barriers are lessening. So we have this good problem of more money that we didn't put in our council approved budget to spend. So what happens when that gets to be too much is you need to do a supplemental budget and have council say, yes, you can spend the money. But our finance director said when it's grant funds, that's not something, a supplemental budget isn't necessary. But what is happening is it looks like we're starting to overspend some of our categories, and I highlighted those. We have a category called grants expenditure, and I think the previous library director made that category. I understand why it's there, and so does our finance director, but we budgeted at 0, and we've spent almost $18,000 of it. So it's money we have brought in. It is in the revenue part, but in our expenditures, it looks funny. It looks like we have spent money we didn't have. Bill doesn't like the optics of it, and it is harder to explain to you. I have to say, okay, this looks strange, there were a few things that I think we just didn't anticipate that the Yellow House utilities would be as much as they are. They don't have water, and all they have is internet and electricity. So that just must have been forecasted wrong.
Was that in a certain time of the year, winter, summer?
Oh,
Can you tell when it was bad?
I don't know, the heat is out over there now, so they're using space
It should-
heaters.
Oh, so they.
Shouldn't
Oh,
really
my.
see-
Yeah, that'll
Keeps
run
going
your
downhill.
electric bill up.
At this point, if there's no heating system, there should be no water usage,
There is no water.
and it's not being used.
It's not qualified to be a resident, but it is being used
How do
Storage.
they flush the toilet?
for,
Is it,
they don't
They
use the
don't,
bathroom.
they come
They
here.
come
so
here.
are they using heat,
They're
some heat?
just a space heater when they're there.
Oh, got it. Well, then that
Yeah.
shouldn't really amount to much. That'll balance out.
Okay. Repairs and maintenance is highlighted. Unfortunately, our library heat is failing. The radiant heat system is failing. And we tried a $2,000 fix that didn't, it's working. Obviously, it's not cold in here. But it apparently needs some new parts. And so I've been having people come in for quotes, and I had a boiler expert come in. That was very enlightening. We don't even have boilers. What they've been calling boilers in there are instant hot water heaters.
Yeah, those, well,
They're
we're just boiling that water there at that locality.
Okay,
They're not, a boiler typically supplies an entire facility with heat, is what a boiler does, and they can be of various sizes, but yeah, technically, sure, that's at the point of use, which is probably wherever it's at is where that's located.
the instant hot water?
Yeah,
Well, it's used to heat the building, because it heats the water that goes through the floor. We have a radiant heat system.
yeah. it
It's
doesn't
really
sound like
interesting.
Big enough.
There's two little ones. Anyway, long story short, we've spent more in repairs and maintenance, making sure we had heat in the building. We do have heat right now, but these heaters are failing and there's no replacement for them, and the pump has a problem. So I'm back to what I asked to do when we first started having problems, is put in a conventional heat pump. And then get an Energy Trust credit. So I'm still pursuing that. It's a bit tricky because they sort of built the building around our air intake, air handlers in the attic. So it might actually be less expensive to put a real boiler in there to heat the building and keep our system out. I'm waiting for these quotes to come in after all the people I met with. I probably spent 4 or 5 hours meeting with HVAC people last week. So yay. So that is, already a little bit over, and I'm not sure what's gonna happen, but the city has contingency funds, and the finance director and city manager said that's what contingency funds are for, if there's some big expense like this that was unanticipated. So,
I don't think it should be a concern. We got plenty of contingencies. So
yes, we do have a
we're in good financial shape there.
yeah, so just trying to have the most practical solution.
Long-term solution.
Yes, practical long-term solution, not keep putting money into a system that's failing. And then our library materials are always gonna show a little bit over the forecasted time of the year, because we pre-order probably about 6 months in advance titles, and then they come in periodically. And so when we get close to when you have publications that are coming out past like June 12th, we pause and hold those orders in carts for the next. We're on a 2-year system, but our procurement acquisition system is not on a 2-year system, so we still have that pause, and then, basically what happens is you come out kind of right where you need to be by the end of the budget. Also though, the library materials budget doesn't reflect the fact that the Friends also are donating more towards library materials than we budgeted. They added $1,000 for additional copies of high demand items when the county stopped the Sizzler program. And they also upped their, they give us 2 donations a year towards materials, and they increased that a bit also. So we also have a little more library materials budget than we thought. So with these expenditures being over, or these lines being overspent because we have funding that we didn't anticipate, Bill is recommending that we create a project fund. So we have the revenue, the expenditures, and then we have it broken, you know, the expenditures are broken up by basically labor costs and materials and services, those 2 big buckets. Having another category that's project category where we can track our grant spending.
That makes more sense, yeah.
Because some of it is for personnel too. And so this $5,000 grant for Oregon Communities is going to pay for Steve, our part-time staff, to have additional hours to run that program. So Bill said it'd be good to have that project budget with a personnel bucket and a materials and services bucket, and then a capital equipment bucket, because, you know, we were able to get some new capital equipment with budget funds. So we've discussed setting that up, and Andy seems to be too busy to tell. No, I'm kidding. Andy seems to be in favor of it. He tends to like our ideas. So that will make the budget hopefully a little easier to understand. And when you get the reports, city council sees it, they see it in a different way than, I mean, I can always pull this. We do an internal spreadsheet, but the general ledger that the city council sees, it'll just be a little easier to understand.
Well, then you can compare year to year much easier.
Yeah, we do quite a bit of internal tracking, and we have spreadsheets for every grant and everything, but having it actually in the ledger makes a lot of sense, and it's less, it's good to have redundancy with your financials, but, you know, don't want to do the work too many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense because it's
And it's audited.
just gotta have an offsetting entry, so when you bring in expenses, then you gotta be bringing revenue in. You gotta
Right.
track those lines, but it's not like we're, for taxation purposes, worried about amortization and all those kinds of things, so it can be more simplistic, but it's gotta be, you know, we gotta declare it in there, so.
Absolutely, we do. We have to show what we bring in and what we spend. And then having it be clear to report to you all is important to me. And have it sort of in the general ledger show as clearly as possible what it's being used for transparency. That's good. Because the public can always look at our budgets too if they want. Does anyone have any budget questions? I gave a lot of information there.
I'm good.
But yes, we're in good shape. And yeah, there's a lot of funding available. There's even some grants we haven't applied for, like some of the federal funds. There's just, the process is a bit difficult, and I wish, you know, maybe we'll just keep training all the staff to write grants. Maybe next time.
Makes a difference.
And we
doesn't
have
it?
gotten some scholarships for conferences. Brianna got a scholarship to go to the
Oh, wow.
Public Library Association conference. And two staff have applied for the Oregon Library Association to get a scholarship for that. It's in Salem, but still it's helpful for the cost.
You're doing a great job of grant writing, that's for sure.
Oh. Thank you. Projects are exciting. Well, there's a D section in reports, which was my year in review that I finally get to go over with you. Put it. Can I go on to that, Donna?
You can go on to that. Can we change off the budget page so I can, so I can see a little
Yes.
farther? Thanks. Thank you.
So Andy has department heads do a year-end wrap-up every year. We want to tie this back to, well, our strategic plan that we worked on, but our strategic plan is aligned with the city's goals. Our city's goals are around community engagement, sustainable growth. We're very aligned with those things, and we're working towards those with the library. So our mission, just to remind everyone, is through equitable access to our collection and services, we empower gathering, connection, lifelong learning, and creativity. That's the library goal. And then our vision is the library is the heart of North Plains, where everyone's welcome in our growing and changing community. And then we have some focus areas. So I just did a report out on those. And some of the actions we've taken in 2023. So selecting a wide variety of materials that are in demand by our community. We added almost 2,800 new items to our shelves. We broke our monthly record for checkouts three times last year. And then we had substantial 2023 total checkouts there. Which you can see reflected in that big total. That's our little spot here with the county.
Yes.
It's a number for us. And then we evaluated our space, open hours, and access with a community survey. And that was in September. We had 81 responses. So overall, well, we've talked about this before. We did get favorable ratings for our hours and the size and location. What we did find, though, that everyone who filled out our survey, except maybe one or two people, are library users. We didn't reach people who don't use the library in the community. So we really want to figure out a way to survey people who don't use the library, because maybe they wouldn't rate us as.
Or you wonder if maybe they use another library.
Yes.
You know, and
That's true.
yeah,
That's open on Sunday or
not
something.
that they have anything against this library, it's just
Right.
some people go towards bigger, they think it's better, and it's not always the case.
Yeah, that's true. Or maybe they have time to go to the library on the weekend and they're in Hillsborough shop, do
Or
grocery
they're
shop.
getting
Yeah.
off work and.
Yeah,
Yeah,
close to
exactly,
their job
closer
or
to their
something like that, yeah.
Just convenience, yeah.
Convenience, yeah.
So
Did
that
I
is,
share the survey on the North Plains Community Facebook page?
so I,
That's limited too. You
Yeah.
have to be invited to that.
we
Oh, I think you
shared
can,
it in a
like,
few
apply.
different ways.
Well,
we
one
had-
thing
Can you do
We
it? in
certainly-
newsletter?
and I didn't ask this question last night,
Oh.
but I will ask Andy about
Okay,
some of our promotions in our community and our application, our app that
Oh,
we
yeah.
have,
Yeah.
and whether or not we're really using that. You know, that doesn't just have to be for emergencies, and I'm thinking,
right.
are we communicating in the ways we should be? So that was a question I didn't ask, but that
Yeah.
would be something I think, some of those things really should be a flow. It should be a flow of information. And if the library's got something going on, that should go on. And
I
in
think
that
right.
time period, I don't want to look back there and see things from 3 years ago. I really don't care about that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I want to see what's going on now, or what's going to be.
I think
happening
that is something we've heard before. I think Larry brought up that point also about getting the word out about things. And I think Tim, our chair, also just, when I tell him something he doesn't know, he's like, wow, I'm surprised you do that. I can't believe I didn't know about it type thing. And so we do want to figure out ways to get more communications out there. And
You
we
do
do
some
need
on
the cities.
Facebook.
We
but
do.
it's- But
Yeah.
again, the community thing, I was surprised that you
Yeah.
had to be invited or asked, you have to know about it to begin with.
Yeah.
And you have to be
Oh.
approved.
Well,
Right.
that's not affiliated with the city though. I mean, that's,
Well,
you
it's
know,
just a lot of people actually talking about their businesses and
yeah.
just advertising.
We do our best in the library, and I feel like we have some staff who do a really good job with our social media and communications. But we're not experts. It's not our field of expertise per se.
You always
And
put the good old flyer at the post office.
we do.
Did
put
you?
those- Yeah, we had it on with a QR code and everything, the
Oh,
survey, and we put it around
cool.
town on our flyer, all our flyer spots. But we do need support from the city with the communications, and we
Yeah,
have Corinne, and, but she's a consultant and only.
Well, and part of, I think, what we have to look toward is, especially in outreach, how do we make part of our strategic plans a way that we're connecting with people entirely as a city, not just individual departments, but the whole city.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure we're built for that yet, but I think we can get there.
I think
I
so
think it's
too.
gonna take some time. but-
Yes, yeah. Part of, as a library board members, part of your role, like, thank you for wearing your badge, but when you go to city events, that's okay. Okay, when you do have it.
I sure do.
Okay,
We
like,
know who you are.
wear your badge to community events and things like that, and, people might ask, you know, you can talk to you about the library, that's nice, to be able to engage with people if they see that they might talk to you, and that's you're another face of the city and the library, and,
But the one statistic here that I was kind of surprised at, 81% thought the size of this place was, we were satisfied with it. They're not thinking what else could be happening there.
that it meets their needs,
It meets
well
their
or
individual
extremely well.
situation, yeah.
And that was before the,
That was in September.
yeah.
So again, you know, people who aren't, I would love to get some more input from people who maybe aren't using the library. But it was good to get 81 responses that gave us some,
Something.
some feedback about what we're offering. We are seeing usage go up, so we know that people are finding us.
Well, and the size
Useful.
of the building may prompt more of a trip in and out rather than a linger stay.
True.
Just because it does have limitations, not because again, they don't want to be here, but it's suitable for what they need to come and get and the time
Pick
they're
up
here.
the
And it
And
really doesn't, it's not usually crowded. It's
No.
crowded during some programs, but it's
Yeah.
Sure.
usually fine, like you can come in, you always can find a computer, you're not in a.
well, it's gonna take us a little bit to get expanded, so we need to buy all the time we can.
Right, so I think overall, when you come in, there's,
Is it a
You
bit
can browse and do what you
busier,
want.
like right after school's out, like that? 4
yeah,
time?
it is, it's a little busier after school's out, it's busier when we have programs.
Yeah,
But in general, I think it meets the needs of the community pretty well. We could use some meeting space, but
Hey, Robin,
yes,
do we still have that tech help? Is that
yes,
still happening?
you,
know what,
and then,
an idea that I had based on the Libby conversation earlier is, would it be nice to say, bring in your, device and we will help you get set up on Libby.
that is actually what the tech help people do, a lot.
Yeah,
That
but I
is
mean,
one of
actually
the-
have an event where you invite people and say, hey, we're gonna do this, especially for the summer when people are going on vacation and they want to take books with them. You know, here's a way for us to connect with you and make sure you're successful in using the library. Here's a step in that direction.
Cyber Saturday. I don't know. I just thought of that. I don't know. Thank you.
Tuesday.
Saturday does tend to be a quieter day, although lately with tax season, it's been
Oh.
busier, I think, but having something like that on a Saturday could be nice. Way to have get people in. We're a little bit downtown, it's not quite very quiet on the weekend.
Sure, it is.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'll just put the report back up.
Thanks.
I called out just some
Last
of the
time.
different presented over the year in our programming, and we don't always have a program, but we usually will have a display in the library, feature items around global holidays, observances, and things like that here in the library. And then looking at, we visited all the elementary school classrooms at least twice in 2023,
And I'm assuming that's both the
both
schools.
elementary schools.
That's
Yep.
pretty
And that was Brianna and Emily, mostly. Brianna's famous, and kids will come in and ask her,
Isn't that
where is the lady that visited my class? And then they have with their student library cards, because one of the visits is, she talks about the student library cards, and one visit talked about summer reading, but this, give them a golden ticket to bring back to the library, the little kindergartners who get their first student card. And so we have them come in, if she's not here, you know, they're sad, and one of them wrote a little note for her. So in fact, it's taped up in there, I can show you after. It's so cute. It's, you know, like a little first grade handwriting or something. We learned to visit her. So that's really great way we're engaging with the schools. And we have a part-time early literacy specialist, Emily, who would love to do more. So we could hopefully grow that position in the future. Yeah, so ahead, we are using Genuine IT for the staff and public computers.
What does that mean? Is that a brand
That's
name?
it. So the city had just a very part-time contractor do the city IT. A lot of those kind of ad hoc.
Mhm.
And we upgraded to a firm that does full service IT, 24/7 help desk, cyber security training, and very secure. All our data is very secure. It's super important. We also have a grant that helped pay for the first year through
So that's the
Mac
name
and-
of the company, Genuine IT.
Genuine IT is the name of the company. I'm hoping to get, because they did set up all the public computers for us as a pro bono project that before we even contracted with them as the library department. I'd like to acknowledge them in some way along with the grant for their work on setting these up. And so our technology is leveling up here. We are going to complete that first round of the grant project and celebrate that. We are going to get some new tables for the children's area, and the Friends were here right before this meeting and said that the money that Surprise Squad, they gave the library $1,500 too.
Whoa.
So they gave it to the
Cool.
Friends because they're the
Oh, yeah.
nonprofit, and that we're gonna get our tables with that.
Oh,
We also did our holiday fundraiser towards it, but
Yeah.
one wooden table in the children's area is getting a little rickety. And so we're gonna get two kind of crescent ones that the top folds down, and so we can kind of use the space a little better. And they're pricey, but you know,
They're sturdy.
they're sturdy and they need to be in the kids area for sure. And then I talked about some of these other things. We talked about doing that because Diwali and Dia de los Muertos fall on the same day in 2024, but we were advised by someone who celebrates one of those holidays that maybe that might not be the best idea. So we're gonna do a Diwali celebration and we'll do a Dia like displays and activities in the library, but we won't do them together. Yeah, and then summer reading, everything's already almost all planned for that this time of year. Read, renew, repeat is the theme. So we'll be having some cool programs around recycling, green things, and some neat performances coming out too. And these artists, we have 2 artists up right now. They only could have their art here for a month, which we try to have at least 8 weeks of lead time for any event so we can promote it. So we didn't plan an artist reception for this one. Oh, it's really beautiful. And maybe when we do the grant celebration, it'll still be up and we can tie it in. Because I didn't plan that either because I didn't know when the computers would be operational. They're still having a few issues, but we'll get it worked out.
How do you find your artists?
How do I?
The artists have-
Steve Daner is also, he's leading kind of the adult programming. And he took the lead on that. So, gosh, he finds artists in various ways through galleries and local other displays. He'll see someone's art. He lives in Forest Grove, so yeah, he's a very personable guy, and we have a list of artists we used before too. Some galleries. I think that he visits. Yeah, so I knew it would take a long time to go through all this. We're almost at an hour already.
Okay.
But to go back to the agenda.
Okay, ongoing business, right? The WCCLS funding project.
I don't have, the only update I have is that there is a meeting scheduled, or I'm sorry, a doodle poll out to the executive board. So that's all the city managers or managers of nonprofit libraries in WCCLS to get a date on the calendar to meet with the new consultants because they finally got all their paperwork done and they're starting work. So this is the consultant's name is Marina. They're doing the funding and governance project. They're hired by the county. And so that is kicking off. And that's really my only update on that. They were going through the process, scope of work, signing contracts, etc.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
but I will
new
update you
business?
on that every.
Sorry. Did I lose you? I think I lost you guys. Where'd you go?
Okay.
There we go.
She lost us.
I
did
lost you
you-
guys, but I think you can hear me now. Are you back? You can hear me? Okay. So we're ready for new business, right?
Yeah, and the only thing we put on here for new business was just reviewing this article that came out in publication is the other Oregonian, like a rural Oregon publication, and it just highlighted kind of some of the challenges libraries are having around Oregon right now. And these aren't challenges that we're having here in North Plains at the moment, but it's good to know about the greater environment and be prepared. I know we've talked about it before, but did anyone want to discuss their thoughts on the article?
This is pretty amazing, is it, Rutherford? They're gonna provide 3D printers and laptops and webcams and podcasting stuff.
So
Pretty
the
amazing.
Shoot Library in Hillsborough has a lot of those things.
Do they?
Yeah.
I'd love to try.
And the
3D
Hills, the
printers.
Brookwood Library has a,
Have you
Yeah,
done
that'd
that?
be interesting with
That's
that.
pretty cool.
Making your, yeah, I'm sorry.
they both have kind of a maker space.
Made a coaster.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like it was fun.
Well, yeah, I read the whole article. I just, I'm always trying to keep a pulse on things and, I haven't heard anything here, but we know we've got a lot of assaults on, well, primarily on the First Amendment. Of course, that affects books and, people want to drive things a certain way and, that's going to ebb and flow. And in some places, in my mind, it's a little ridiculous, but, we gotta be mindful of that. And I didn't know if we had anything here where anybody has posed a challenge in that regard. I haven't heard of any. I presume that's not the case, but I don't know that.
Not formally, we had, someone did object to a book we had on display, but the staff person handled it properly, and put it back on display, and then the person didn't pursue it.
And I wondered if you kind of had a process for that, because there's always, that eventuality is gonna happen at some point.
Yeah.
There's always somebody out there that's going to challenge something.
Yeah, and because we're funded with tax dollars, people can have recourse. I
Yeah,
forgot the term, but there has to be a process, since we're for someone to, raise a concern. And the one we have now, you have in your bylaws, there is a reconsideration form. We have a collection development policy, and then we have a reconsideration form that someone can fill out if they are asking we remove an item. And then it does go to the library board to advise on. Some libraries, though, are finding that there are some efforts to take quite a bit of their time, and the same people putting like 200 reconsideration forms in, and so there are some talk of putting some limits on how many people can do in a year, or once you make a decision on a certain item, that item is now immune from being challenged again, or something,
Is that
just.
some discussion that happens at the county level, I presume?
That is Oregon Library Directors having meetings
so the state
together.
level, yeah.
State level, yeah. And so, and then there's Oregon Library Director meetups on Zoom now, but we also get together in person. We try to do quarterly. Wasn't able to go to the last one. It was pretty far away, but, I try to go to a couple a year in person. So it would be good as for the library board to take a look at that, and update our process. It doesn't even have to be a form. I mean, it can be a conversation with the director. There's, as long as there is a recourse, and the process is in place and followed, it can be what makes sense.
So hopefully on whatever form one would be filling out, they're saying why they think that
Yeah.
particular book
Yeah.
should be banned. from the
And have
library.
they read it?
Yes, have you read it? Is a
It's a
question.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially for those 200
Yeah,
submissions.
Right. Yeah. Because I've responded to them before, not here. My most notable one was for Good Dog Carl, the Worthless Picture Book, almost wordless. It does say Good Dog Carl. So someone wanted that removed from the library in Roseville, California. They filled out the form. And
What
the
was the
reason
dog
was
doing?
child neglect,
What?
He was babysitting a little.
because the dog is left in charge of the baby.
Oh, my
Oh, for
God.
goodness sake.
And so I mean, I'm dead serious. And so
Yeah,
my
I believe
response, I did the response of, it's popular. This is how much it checks out. These are, critical reviews. It is the fantasy genre. Not real.
Science fiction.
And it's, I think it has won awards, like, and so we're keeping it, you know, if that's the response,
Yeah.
but
Oh my goodness,
you
that's really
cannot
unfortunate,
predict,
isn't it?
and that's a good illustration of you may think, don't, you know, oh no, if it's something too controversial, you don't know what's gonna be controversial sometimes.
Probably gonna be controversial to different people.
Yeah, it's different interpretations. If they even read the material, most of the time they're
Well, let's hope they
grabbing on
read
the
that.
bandwagon.
It's a
Yes,
wordless
yes,
book, so,
Pictureless.
Yeah, so people's perspectives, yeah, are different. There's definitely something in this library that will offend you, I promise. You get to choose what you check out, and you know, not what other people check out, that's the,
Sure.
Nobody's holding a gun on you. Check out something you
That's
don't like.
No duress, that's for sure.
yeah. And we do have a wide variety of viewpoints and items.
And that's good.
Mhm.
And, but I have not heard any of these slurs directed towards myself. The Josephine County Library Director has been threatened with bodily harm
Oh, my God.
for doing her job. And there are Oregon Library Directors, yeah, who've been called really terrible things, so. Not happened here. There was an objection to a summer reading giveaway book at National Night Out, but I mean, we really do rely on parents to oversee
No,
their
yeah.
children.
It's their
I mean,
job.
Yeah.
if they care about what they're choosing, like to be involved, so that is an expectation.
But the dog was supposed to be watching it, so.
Yeah, right. Let him pick the book.
Yeah.
Come on, Carl.
Rottweiler. Oh my gosh, that's the cutest book, my kids love those. So, yeah, just knowing what's going on around, and I'll let you know. But overall, here in North Plains, people are happy to have the library with, you know, a variety of items, and are fine to just come in and get refreshments and leave the rest, so.
Well, it's
so far.
just so nice that you can put things on hold.
It is, you
Yeah.
can really do have a lot of choice, over a
Pulling in
million
from other libraries, whatever, yeah.
Throughout the world,
Yeah, right.
you just knew what the name was.
Okay,
So that just leaves us down to announcements and,
Ready
I have
for-
a follow-up question on that last piece though, with the library book banning thing.
yes, Larry,
Is that, the person that was complaining, were they actually a North Plains resident?
it was only on social media. Oh, the person in the library or the person that sent the National Night Out?
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure. It was on social media, and so, and we did put my email address on there in case they wanted to follow up with me, but they didn't. The only email I got was someone thanking us for the great selection we had. That was it. So, I don't know.
Should I back up? Hazardous weather procedures, did they change? Haven't we gone over those before?
They haven't changed, but I kind of told you what we do if people are scheduled and.
Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, and we
Right.
close.
Okay.
We are mindful that we don't want to be open if it's dangerous
Dangerous,
out. We
yeah.
don't wanna encourage people to leave their homes and get hurt, so we try to. It's a fine line, you know, we try to be open if staff can get here safely. I figure if staff could get here safely, someone could get here safely, but we don't wanna endanger anyone, so, WCCLS, we have communication that we do to make sure that, everyone knows when each other are closing, we know if the courier is gonna come or not, and I was just gonna go over some of that. Uh-oh,
Nothing.
so it, but it, we do have procedures and it worked pretty well. The cities are, I make sure Andy's aware, of what's going on, and we try to align City Hall and the library if one's, you know, having them both closed or both open, if we can.
Okay, am I moving us on to updates for first the Friends? That's gotta be Robin.
Yes, my one update from them is that they would like a library board member to attend their quarterly membership meetings as like an ex officio or just to build that relationship, you know, between the Friends board and the library board. So I was gonna bring that to you all. They are meeting monthly right now since they're a fairly new board. They have a quarterly membership meeting and then they have a monthly board meeting when they don't have the quarterly meeting. So think about maybe if you'd be willing to go to attend a Monday evening Friends meeting, maybe take some turns, but they'd like to, you know, just have a library board connection.
Are their meetings running till 11 o'clock still?
No,
Their
no,
first one
I feel
did.
bad that we're over an hour, sorry.
Their first one did, or some, it's really long, but they were just getting started,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
They are doing a lot of things. They try to though break it up into committees so that the board's not doing all of that at once.
Would they meet here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
could probably do one of those.
So what Monday of the week do they do?
Well,
Monday
it's
of the week?
Oh, you know what I
Of the
mean, what
month.
week of the month?
Why don't I just follow up by sending out the schedule
Okay, that's
to
a good idea.
everybody, cause
Yeah,
there might be a month where it's different.
sure, that's a good idea.
And then, yeah, they're starting to plan for the Garlic Festival book sale,
Oh, wow.
and they're gonna have a new logo soon,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Ooh,
A
I'm
new Friends
excited.
logo, their website's looking really nice, they're doing a lot of work, they still need a treasurer. And the treasurer just has to do a little bit of QuickBooks, not really handle cash or anything. But just help with the inputting stuff and doing some reports, so.
Just keeping track of stuff.
Yeah, if you know anybody who might be able to be the Friends treasurer, that would be helpful. The chair's doing it right now, but it's good to have a separate treasurer for accountability reasons, fiscal responsibility, et cetera. That's it.
We get the ex officio update of the city.
Well, I always say thanks for your service because everybody sacrifices time in some capacity to serve on whatever board or commission we have. So I think we'd be remiss as a city if we didn't tell people that we appreciate that. And we know that not everybody could make it to the holiday mixer. I know we had a few folks from the library. I think we had a couple people from the library board, if I
We
recall
have
correctly.
2 tables of library.
Yeah,
Yeah, we did.
and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that, you know,
Rich
that's,
and I were here.
Between the
for
Friends
that.
and the board.
well, I
we
knew
did.
there were
Yeah.
several faces that I
Yeah.
recognized, so, you know, that's part of, we gotta thank people for
That was
doing what
great.
they
It was a
do.
really great.
It was fun.
Yeah.
And something we're gonna
Food
continue.
and wine.
Yay, we're gonna do it again.
Yeah.
Why
I
not?
had surgery right before. I couldn't have joined the
Oh,
wedding.
bad timing.
One excuse after.
I know,
another.
right.
And as a city, we're busy. So, and, you know, I don't necessarily want to go over what's necessarily on the website from the standpoint of where we're at, but we've got, we're in good fiscal shape. So fiscally, we're very responsible and we have a lot of aims. We're working on putting some of those aims into more focus as we go forward. And that includes a number of things. So we're looking at, at the downtown plan that's been talked about for years and years, and we'll eventually get to take some action on that. It's not going to be a quick and easy process, but we're already looking at conceptually, having a core and having using the property across the way to incorporate into that core. We've got to think about the city center, city offices, having capacity for additional staff, having growth for the library. So we've got a pretty good piece of property here, and we've got some thoughts about where we could go with that. And those things are more long range type plans, but obviously the cornerstone is thinking some of this through. And I think not just taking off from where maybe they left off at some point, because some of those plans were originally developed and we've had to manipulate those some because things have changed. So I think we're being thoughtful in that respect. The infrastructure pieces, we've got, of course, our public work facility is basically moving along at pretty good speed, despite the fact that it's winter. And I think, we're going to be timely on that. I think we'll meet the goals of where we want to be. And that's going to be, a huge addition to our city infrastructure. And besides things that are in the ground and the sidewalks and some of the systems repairs we've had to go and look at making, and some of the agreements we're looking at entering to assure we have water and looking at alternatives to water. We're looking at potentially even storing water in aquifers that are here in this area and using those as a reservoir, if you will, to draw from at some point if we need that, especially in the case of emergency. So we're not just thinking about today what we have, but where we might go in the future. And of course, probably the biggest thing going on in town, I'm sure everyone's aware of, that we've actually approved an expansion, and now we're faced with a referendum, and that referendum comes up in May, and essentially that determines whether or not the ordinance as it was adopted gets to get pushed forward and move on, well, technically through the county before it goes to the state. The state's the one that decides our land use. We have to apply. And in our case, you'll see more on this as we go forward from the city, but there's also an active PAC about, what implications are and essentially what the goal of the boundary is. And that isn't to create skyscrapers or something like that in the next couple of years. There's people out there pumping ideas that, they use words like massive and huge, and it's pretty misleading, really. It's a 20-year growth plan. It's a boundary that basically, yes, does double the size of what our current size is in terms of area, but that's for 20-year growth plan. So, I think that part of it could be formidable. We'll see what the attitudes of the voters are. We should get a pretty decent turnout in May. I don't suspect there'll be any interruption in that. I do expect it to go forward, but that's a big challenge, and it's probably, that boundary decision is probably the most consequential action that this city has ever faced in its history. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes, and we'll deal with the outcome of that. We're hoping that residents that are here will look at what the actual goals of that are and support it. So if you're in support of it, talk to your friends who might need information or they're ill-informed. So we're gonna see more of that activity going closer to the election. Let's see.
The facts on that.
Yeah, the
But
facts.
On that, that's only City of North Plains residents. that would
Yes,
be-
only voters in the city of North
Yeah,
Plains
so
vote on
I'm
that.
affected, but I can't say.
That doesn't
where.
seem fair.
Yeah,
No,
well, I mean, there,
Stinks.
yeah, the reality is yes, unless you're in this jurisdiction, you're a registered voter here, you won't be able to vote on it.
Within
Good or
the city,
bad, yeah.
Within the city.
Correct. So, and that even includes the expansion area, but we don't have any pushback or a large amount of pushback from anybody in the expansion area either. So that's a favorable thing, I think, for us. And I think there's a lot of services that will come to our city over time that people want here. It's going to allow us to make the progress that we're pretty sure people want. There's always going to be some resistance to changing anything.
Sure.
And some people want nothing to change, and that's not,
Right.
well, yeah, and it's,
It's not
you know,
reasonable.
yeah, I think it's an unreasonable thing to stop time. It just, yeah,
We
unfortunately,
gotta move farther up the hill.
Yeah.
yeah, well, sure. And things are gonna change whether we like it or not, and, we're trying to think out for the residents and the future residents for 20 years. And 20 years seems like a long period of time, but it's really not from a planning standpoint because it's going to take a lot of time to plan into that. Now that plan, that expansion doesn't include anything in it. It's
There's
just
no
a
zoning or
boundary.
anything yet.
So that's all something
So it could
that
be-
the citizens who and people who have been opposed to it say they haven't been involved. Well, there's not much to be involved with in how that's planned. It's just be involved with how that boundary's made. Well, that's been in process since I've been on this council. So, some of those arguments don't have a lot of merit in my mind. That's probably the biggest thing going on. We've got a lot of small projects. We've got a lot of sidewalks that are in process now. You'll see markings on the street. You'll see more activity with those things going on. Probably next month, I think they reported 313th is gonna start. That's a pretty sizable project. So we're making steps.
What is that project?
That sidewalk project all the way
On
from
313?
Highland clear up
And it's
313th.
from the
When can
gas
we pay
tax.
Wasco Street?
Oh, well, we'll get there.
When?
I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
We got a limited amount of dollars
We feel
and
like dog patched.
I bet you do. Well,
Yeah, but your taxes will go up.
we do.
Yeah, that's true, that's true.
we do have a plan, and most of those things in that plan, the first probably 15 or 20 items are really focused on safety. Intersection safety, where we're seeing maybe not necessarily a lot of problems, but we need to fix some things.
Be
And
prepared.
sidewalks.
Yeah. Because those are the threats we have in our community as
Yeah.
we grow or you can get a little more traffic.
Well, I understand the fire department would like that to be a through street because they feel it isn't safe the way it is, access wise.
And it may come to that. I mean, there's a lot of things we're
Oh,
looking
yeah,
at.
a lot of
but-
people involved.
Yeah. So we'll get there. We just haven't had that discussion yet. And it hasn't had, it's not one of those things that's right at the top.
Yeah.
But let's see, well, there was one other thing I was gonna mention and I can't remember now what it was, but
Goals setting?
goal setting, yeah, we're gonna have basically an update to our goal setting. That's gonna occur in April. That's basically kind of like a day-long retreat for the council and the staff to hone in on, okay, we got these things accomplished. What do we need to focus on, where we're headed, and how do we approach some of those things? So it's kind of like a strategic plan, and the strategic plan's something I've asked every committee that I've been before is let's make sure our roadmap, and that's no different. And then you have a great library director. We need to have the input in on that roadmap. Where are we going? What do we need to do? What do we need to change? And I can tell you that the council is supportive. And if there's something the body needs from us, some support, that needs to be communicated to us, because we're here. Really, we have to look at this whole thing, and there's just, and some things we're just drinking out of a fire hose, right? So, so there's a fair amount going on in that regard. And I think that's everything I can think of right now off the top of my head. That probably maybe things that you aren't gonna get a read quickly or easily somewhere. We are very pleased. We did have well, maybe not a presentation, but we had a discussion with our cyber folks, and one of those things that's concerning to me is the threats that are occurring against US infrastructure. And that includes everything from water systems to general systems,
Electric grid.
Yeah.
yeah, the electric grid. And most people may not know about the Lazarus Group, and they were actually close to heisting $1 billion, and through a Dakar, Bangladesh bank, and it was caught. It's a fascinating story, but it just shows you that it doesn't take a whole lot of hyper sophistication to pull off some of these things, and we have to be guarded against those. We have to use better practices in our day-to-day.
Yeah, be careful. Phishing emails are getting very
Oh,
sophisticated.
yeah.
Yeah, they're and
Some
AI
of
is,
those
I think,
are
only gonna make this worse,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
They're gonna be able to just fake us out really well.
I'm
And
really excited
That's
for
scary.
AI. That's gonna be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I have one question.
sure.
Where that grocery store is going to go? And I
GOA
know-
property, yeah. Well, it will.
And I know
We're
not
re-
to
we
call
have
it
a
a strip
resolve.
mall.
Really?
What do you call it if you don't call it a little strip mall?
The
Well-
defunct service station.
Yeah,
part,
yeah.
Well, it's deemed what we're calling now the collective.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so it's a 5.4 acre piece of property.
Yeah, yeah. So
But we have
what,
plans for
yeah, so what is that? Is there something in the very near future? I don't see
I know
any
what's
action
happening.
over there. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, okay, so I can tell you that it is in progress. The reason why it slowed up is because honestly, the developer has to keep that affordable at about $15.5 million. The first bid they received to excavate that property was over $5 million, which is a ridiculous sum of money
Mhm.
to grade
But you've
a
got
property.
You've got a gas station there. so-
Well, okay, I agreed, but that gas station was that those tanks had been pulled out of the ground
Oh,
years
and it's been
ago,
cleaned and.
and DEQ signed off on it. And now they're coming back and saying, oh, well, now we've got to look at remediation. And there was once potentially crop chemicals on the rest of that property that we've got to do. So we've hired a firm to come in and
That's the part I knew. That we heard a firm.
to
To the
basically
environmental study.
create the sampling that we
Yeah.
need to prove what's there, because I'm pretty staunch in that you tell the DEQ to stay at the DEQ. They already approved this once. Why are you coming back to us? That's not
Well, probably because how
acceptable.
long ago did they approve it?
Well, I'm not sure. It's probably been I know it's been over 20 years ago.
Things change.
But,
Yeah.
well, yeah, but when they remediated, they had a set of rules that had to be done by, and I'm happen to be familiar with some of that, but the point is that, yeah, we've got some more work to do, so it's created some challenges, because the real effect of what the developer ends up with is what he can bring the people in at the square footage rate. That's being the grocery store and the hardware store. And, when you have a bit, although we're not in any kind of an economic slump, we have a net borrowing cost issue,
Mhm.
because that finance piece
Mhm.
is taking a $15 million product, which they know they can move on, and it's making it a $21 or $22 million project, and they just can't do that. And so, if we can, with the whole piece of identifying what either is there or isn't there, and remediate that, we got some grant money from the state to do that, thankfully. that will allow us to determine, okay, we can have a prediction on what it's gonna take to actually excavate that and how much of that has to be remediated, because you know, the hazardous materials, if there is any, that's gotta be hauled away to a special landfill, and there's a lot of cost with that, and so if we can work in that vein, and I think assuming we get some changes in our economy enough to bring the rates down, then it becomes more and more possible all the time. So there's been a lot of rumor that
So
this
that's why
thing's
we don't
totally
see
dead.
anything happening. over
Correct.
there. Okay.
Yeah, that's just, it's just a matter of, you know, it's a great piece of property. It has a ton of potential. We were on the right track, and then, you know,
Yeah.
essentially that was, yeah, that was a real challenge. It is a real challenge. So we're working towards what do we do? And we're in the process of that now. So that's a good question, actually. We're trying to get, and I think Andy may have put something out recently, and I'm trying to think what it was in. I think maybe it was in the newsletter. I think it was in the most recent newsletter. Anyway, you know, that this thing is not DOA compared to what some people have kind of
Right.
pumped out there, is that this thing's totally off the table. Well, you know, if you want something, there's got to be other pieces in place to make that happen. So, yeah. So I think that's a pretty good assessment of where we're at right now. And, you know, I think I'm here one more time this year, maybe later in the year. I like to group a lot of my committee assignments early in the year so I can get them out of the way, because I'm pretty busy. And
That's why you had reports on everything
Yes.
last night, okay.
So February's kind of my month. I
Uh-huh.
own all the committee meetings in February. But it's good to be before you, and like I said, don't be afraid to reach out. If there's something you need from the council, just that needs to be communicated, so. And that can be anything, and we're here, and, you know, we're gonna make sure that, you know, the library is one of those centerpieces of our community. And it's important that we, you know, we have it out in front. It's one of our ambassadors and stars, so we wanna make sure that happens.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Good report. Okay, what is good of the order? Good of
If
the order
anyone
general
has-
announcement.
Yeah, anything to share?
Oh,
I had just one thing, that our volunteer coordinator Carol is on extended leave to care for her spouse, and we do set up a meal train. 2 volunteers are delivering meals to her, and I have a little link to it here in the library. So Janelle and Jeannie are taking turns delivering the meals to her home, but they can be brought here to the library. I can put them in the fridge. So we're trying to support her as much as we can. She'll be out, it sounds like, through April.
can you say, is he having new treatment? Or is there no more
So
treatment?
He is having cancer treatments, but because of having cancer treatments for so
Long, yeah.
so long, it's unfortunately compromised his bones. And so he's in quite a bit of pain, and is needing some procedures that are, it's just a tough situation right now, so.
Okay. Okay,
Um,
thank you.
very limited mobility and so forth.
Okay. We're almost done. Next meeting, March 20th. Is that fine with everyone?
Is that the solstice or the equinox?
Pretty close.
Oh, right.
21st is, yeah.
Equinox
Oh,
treat.
yes.
Sorry, I didn't have any snacks today. Didn't happen today.
That's what's missing.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Jeez, I'm not coming next
We had
time.
some,
Yeah,
lot of
right.
tech issues, and I
Well,
just.
you got your candy bar that you found on the
That's
floor,
right.
so
It
now.
really did fall out.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Did anyone else have any announcements?
No, I think but I can talk to you about that another
Okay.
time, about the,
Okay. Are we adjourning? I
Yes.
can't see a clock.
I've had
Yes.
a meeting, a place to exercise.
Right,
Yeah.
yes. All right.
my adjourning the meeting? Someone please call off the time.
Yep, it's 8:35. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Okay,
Bye.
You.
Bye.
night.